This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon. Whatever it is for you, I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schomler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 621. Welcome in. For those of you who haven't seen me in a week, you don't follow me on Instagram, your boy got a haircut. I cut it all off. All the surfer hair, it's all gone. And boy, is it easier to take care of. My goodness. Having lots of hair, wow. I took lots of pictures before I cut it off. I was like, oh, wow, I like how this looks. The long locks, but you realize it takes product. You got to take lots of care of it. If I let it sit for too long, it just gets all crazy. And anyway, so I'm so relieved to have no hair now to have to worry about. I am... Now, the haircut, way too expensive for what happened. But money well spent. I feel like I look really good. I'm really happy with it. And let's jump in. I want to do an ad read. We have to start the show. Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Prize Picks allows you to make an entry based on player projections. And in 60 seconds, you could enter something like George Kittle less than 5 catches, A.J. Brown more than 100 yards receiving, and Jordan Love more than 2 interceptions. And if your picks are right, you can win money. Making picks makes watching games more engaging, and you could turn something like $5 into $50. Prize Picks offers quick and easy deposits. You can even use Apple Pay, and they have weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts. For example, there's a weekly event called Taco Tuesday, where each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So put your skills to the test in daily fantasy. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Daily fantasy made easy. All right, let's jump in. No unhinged question this week. We have one to read at the end. The one we have, look, you guys, I can only deliver the content if you give it to me. I can't create I guess I could come up with an unhinged question, but that would be bad. You would look into my psyche too much and it'd be all bad. So the unhinged question, really the only one on the Patreon this week, was unhinged for sure. And I think I will answer it probably at the end, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't like a fun, exciting one. It was like okay, man, you went there. I guess we can talk about it. So we'll answer it at the end. But like it didn't really fit. It wasn't like a fun way to start the show. And I think if I remember, we'll talk about Song of the Week later at the end of the show. Let's jump in. NFL Week 13 just happened. And we'll start at the very beginning of the weekend, which started on Thursday. On Thursday Night Football, the Dallas Cowboys beat the Seattle Seahawks 41-35. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. It was the best Thursday Night Football game I have watched in years, like a long, long time. Neither team punted. It was back and forth all night long. The reality to me, though, is that Seattle kind of blew it, in my opinion. Seattle had a lead 35-30 in the fourth quarter, and Seattle ended the game with a turnover on downs in their final 3 possessions in a row. So Seattle had the ball late with chances to win this game and could not get it done. And the drives where Seattle did not punt, they had a missed field goal, an interception, and then a turnover on downs 3 times in a row in the fourth quarter. But I thought that, again, thankfully, like as far as Thursday night games go, there's been a notorious stretch where Thursday night games have been bad, unwatchable even at times. The one this weekend, we've got the Patriots playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mitchell Trubisky and Bailey Zappi. Awful. I actually can't say enough. If you're doing anything on Thursday, actually, if you're not, I don't care. Do not watch Thursday Night Football this week. It's going to be awful. It does not, even if it's like close and interesting, I can't imagine myself. I probably will watch it. It is, I get paid to do this. I feel like I have to. I could not tell you enough how much I do not want to watch Mitchell Trubisky play the Patriots defense, and the Patriots at quarterback have Bailey Zappi. That sounds awful. It's torture and painful. I can't believe that's Thursday night. Unlike this coming week on Thursday, last Thursday was incredible. Seattle Cowboys, it was awesome. It was fun. And by the way, it was another really good game for Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. Dak was 29 for 41 passing. He threw for 299 yards and had 3 touchdown passes. Look, Dak Prescott, I have been critical of him in the past. I think deservedly so. I try to be fair when I critique people. But let's also be fair to Dak Prescott. He's playing outstanding football right now. He looks really, really good. And I give credit when it's deserved. I give criticism when it's deserved. Right now, Dak Prescott deserves a lot of credit. He's playing at a high level, doing a lot of little stuff really well. The Cowboys are 9-3 right now. They're actually only 1 game behind Philly in their division, the NFC East. Philly right now is 10-2. Dallas and Philly play each other this coming weekend on Sunday Night Football in Dallas. And that could be the game where Dallas ties Philly in that division. That would be, I guess, 10-3. Wow. There's a lot of stakes. The primetime game on Sunday night this coming weekend, Dallas-Philly, is going to be incredible. I can't wait for that. And the Dallas Cowboys, I know we make fun of them a lot. And again, I think deservedly so. They have this cycle of, we're back, we're great, we're going to win a Super Bowl. But right now, Dallas... Look, they look like Super Bowl contenders. I don't love that. It would make me wrong about a lot of things I've said. But you look at the Cowboys right now; they're playing at a really high level. Great defense. Dak is incredible. I mean, I don't know, man. Right now, it's hard to not view the Dallas Cowboys as a potential Super Bowl team. And I think the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, win or lose, it would be hilarious. By the way, if they lost, if the Cowboys go to the Super Bowl. That would be really funny because if they lost, if the Cowboys go and lose, it would be very fun to enjoy the pain of Dallas Cowboys fans. But I think the Cowboys going to a Super Bowl would be really, really good for the game of football. Just the fan base, the passion. That's one of the biggest, most passionate fan bases in football. And they're one of the biggest brands along with like Pittsburgh, Green Bay, and Dallas. I would call the 3 biggest, most popular franchises in football. The Raiders are in there somewhere too. But I think the Cowboys in a Super Bowl would be really good for the NFL. And it would be hilarious if they lost. But right now, again, I see the Cowboys as a Super Bowl contender. They're fantastic. Seattle, by the way, oh boy. The Seattle Seahawks are a team that is just sliding farther and farther away from their hopes and dreams. They're 6-6 now. They might make a playoff game, maybe, but it's tough sledding for them. And they're in a really tough stretch of their season right now. I find it hard to feel hopeful if you're a Seahawks fan right now at 6-6. And if the playoffs started today, Seattle would be the number 9 seed and miss a playoff game. They're behind the LA Rams now in the playoff standings, which the Rams are also 6-6. It's not good, man. It's really, really disappointing and concerning. And, Seattle, to me, is underachieving right now, for sure. They're a team that just hung around with what I would call the Dallas Cowboys a Super Bowl contender. Seattle's underachieving. And, man, it's disappointing. On Sunday Night Football this weekend, the Green Bay Packers beat Kansas City 27-19. This was a massive win for Green Bay. The number one story walking away from Sunday Night Football has to be the Packers' young quarterback, Jordan Love. He had another really, really great game. And I thought for him to follow up, he had a great performance on Thanksgiving against Detroit, where I was like, well, this guy looks like a young Aaron Rodgers. He followed it up again the following weekend with another great game. And, man, by the way, against a really good Kansas City Chiefs defense on Sunday, too, Jordan Love was 25 for 36 passing, threw for 267 yards, had 3 touchdowns. This is why I said the word patience needed to be used with Jordan Love. Look what can happen when you take your time and allow a young quarterback time to develop. And this is why we take our time developing opinions. I've said all year, hey, Jordan Love could be better. There were times early on where I was like, this isn't great. But it's let's just see how the year goes. Right now, Jordan Love is trending in the right direction. He looks fantastic. He looks like he's going to become the franchise quarterback in Green Bay, and that's huge, man. This is why you cannot rush to having an opinion. You have to take your time, be slow, methodical, take in as much information as you possibly can before you make an opinion. And That's what we got to do with Jordan Love. And right now, the more information we get about Jordan Love later in the year, the better he looks. Early in the year, people were ready to write Jordan Love off. But as the year has gone on, he's gotten better and better and better. By the way, here's another crazy reality from this game, Green Bay beating Kansas City. Here are Jordan Love's top 5 receivers from this football game on Sunday night. Romeo Doubs, who is 23. Christian Watson, who is 24. Dontavian Wicks, who is 22 years old. The tight end Tucker Kraft is 23 years old, and Jaden Reed is 23 years old. Here's the point. The receiving group in Green Bay is so young. And what Jordan Love is done and doing recently is incredible when you realize how much more room they have to grow and improve in Green Bay. This group is a young group that is still very much developing. And I do feel like we have to acknowledge there was an egregious, obvious missed pass interference call at the end of the game. It would have given Kansas City first and goal at the 4 or 5 yard line. They would have been on the 5 yard line with 43 seconds left, down 8 points. So they would have needed a touchdown and a 2-point conversion just to tie the game, let alone win. But it was still a terrible call, and I would call almost like an unforgivable call. I don't know how. I do not know how that was not pass interference. It was obvious, it was clear, and it robbed Kansas City of an opportunity to potentially tie the game. And it robbed us as fans of a great ending. 43 seconds left in the game. I want Patrick Mahomes on the goal line, down 8 points. That's a great ending to a football game. Instead, there was a no call, which, look, when it's close, fair enough. Let the guys play. It wasn't close. It was obviously pass interference. He tackled him before the ball got there. I don't know. We'll talk about Philly in a minute. Something happened with Philly this weekend that it made my skin crawl a little bit, made me uncomfortable. The more I pay attention to football, the closer I get. We read our gambling scripts for the show every week, brought to you by, and gambling money's everywhere in the NFL. And you watch calls like that made, where that clearly is pass interference, and it's been ignored. The only place my brain goes is that it's rigged, that refs are doing things to influence the outcomes of games. I don't know how you walk away not feeling that way when you watch the NFL week to week and see some of the horrendous things that take place week to week, and you're like, how is that not pass interference? How is that? Remember the Colts game where the Browns threw the ball literally out of the back of the end zone, nowhere even catchable, and they did call pass interference, and you're like, well, that's weird too. The endings of games recently in the NFL have made me more and more suspicious of the way things are going down. Now, I'm a very suspicious person. I'm a person who really struggles to trust people. But, a lot of money to be made, and the gambling money in the NFL right now is wild. And the money being spent on gambling, and it's hard for me to not feel like there's some, the word I want to use is a cuss word, and I don't want to use that here. There's some silliness going on that I can't explain, and it makes me irritated, and it makes me, the game I love feels a bit compromised, and I don't like that feeling. It makes me feel icky, and it hurts the product and a game that I love. I love football so much. The game of football, the pure product is amazing. I'm worried that adding gambling to the mix has been, whether it's all in my head and it just makes me question everything, or it's actually influencing games, that remains to be seen. But every time a call like that gets missed at the end of a game in a huge situation where a receiver gets tackled by a defender on the 5 yard line and there's no flag, I go, I'm concerned. I don't understand why that's not pass interference, and you really aren't going to console me. I'm just always going to be like, I don't trust this. This feels wrong and weird, and I don't understand. Now, the 49ers beat Philly 42-19 on Sunday. This was a rematch of the NFC title game from last. Remember, the game to get into the Super Bowl going through the NFC was Philly and the 49ers, and Philly beat the 49ers and went on to go to the Super Bowl. But remember, in that game, Brock Purdy, the 49ers quarterback, got hurt. And then so did the backup quarterback. And then the 49ers ended up with no quarterback in the NFC title game, the game to get into the Super Bowl. And after that game, 49ers receiver, running back, athlete, whatever you want to call him, Deebo Samuel, said, hey, if Brock Purdy played that entire game, it wouldn't have even been close. I guess maybe he was right, because in this game, Brock Purdy was healthy. He's on my fantasy team. He had an incredible day. They won 42-19, and you're like, oh, okay. And I think the reality about this game, you have to walk away feeling like the 49ers are the best team in football. Straight up, they are on their best day when they're at 100%. They're the best team in football. No one can play at as high level as the 49ers can do. The maximum output of the 49ers is a team that should win the Super Bowl. Now, do they play their best week to week? Right? That's a question you got to see. People have bad weeks. Do they have a bad week in the NFC title game? Does someone get hurt? I don't know. But I watched the 49ers beat the living daylights out of the Dallas Cowboys 42-10 earlier this year. And I've never forgotten that. And when I talk about Dallas still, I talked about how Dallas walking away from Thursday Night Football, you're like, hey, they're 9-3, maybe 10-3 if they beat Philly on Sunday. Maybe the Cowboys are a Super Bowl contender. But then the voice in my head goes, remember what the 49ers did to them? They embarrassed them. That's the 49ers at their best, and now they've beaten Philly 42-19. Whoa. Hey, the 49ers are not to be messed with. And again, on their best day, they're the best team on the planet playing football. Another big takeaway from this game has nothing to do with the game. It has everything to do with my healthy respect and intimidation of the city of Philadelphia. I have always really, really appreciated the passion that the Philly fans bring to the table. I think if I was ever going to do local radio in a town, I would want to do it in Philly, New York, or Boston, because that is where the most passion is. That is where people care deeply about their team. But I will say, I watched videos from this game where there's a crowd of Philadelphia Eagles fans pelting 49ers fans with snowballs, and made me go like, I like the idea of going to Philly. I like the edge. I like how gruff it is. You know, the city of brotherly love, and brothers sometimes punch each other, right? I saw the merciless and brutal pelting of fans with snowballs, and made me go like, I don't think I ever want to watch a game in Philly. I think I might go to Philly. I'd love to. I think Philly really interests and excites me, like a cool town, man. But if I do the wrong thing in a crowd in Philly, I'm afraid I'm gonna get like beat up. That doesn't sound like a fun environment to be in. I already don't like being in crowds. I don't like concerts. I love the sounds that happen at concerts, but the act of being near people in a tight space where I feel exposed, that terrifies me. And then you add Philly to the mix and you realize, hey, if you wear the wrong shirt, they're going to like obliterate you. I want none of that. That sounds awful to me. Also, during the game, the Eagles head of security, and I'm not going to say his name because I'm a little bit afraid here. He got into an altercation with Dre Greenlaw, and Dre Greenlaw got ejected. And there's a lot of weird stuff in this story. I actually had people that told me you shouldn't cover that. So let me say now, if anything happens to me, I'm really happy. My life is good. I've got a good future ahead of me. If anything happens to me, someone did it to me. I didn't do it to myself, right? If Zach gets eliminated, just know, no matter what they say about it, I didn't hurt myself. Why does the Philadelphia Eagles head of security have a merch line that was started about a week ago? Started selling t-shirts and stuff a week before he was like even really popular on a national stage. And gambling is huge in the NFL right now. There's a Twitter account called the No Filter Network. Now, I don't want to use Twitter as. Let's be clear. I only have one source that references this, but I think part of why it's not referenced anywhere else is because it's a terrifying thought, and no one wants to confront the reality of this. But the No Filter on Twitter, the No Filter Network, said the guy's title of the guy who had an altercation with Greg Greenlaw. His title is head of security / mafia representative. What? Like I knew distantly in my head. You go to Kansas City, you go to Vegas, like, yeah, there's things that happen behind the scenes. But how is it so out in the open? Like, I'm a little afraid to say anymore. What I will say is all I have now are questions that I really do not want the answer to. And I've probably already said too much. So if anything happens to me, I'm happy. I'm doing well. I did not hurt myself. But I want to say, like, the NFL is in a place that deserves a lot of scrutiny right now. This guy, doing what he is, where he is, doesn't make me feel better about my scrutiny and my concern about the NFL and possible silliness happening behind the scenes, influencing certain things. I go, why is the guy there? That's weird to me. Now, it's a world I don't know very much about. Nor do I want to either, by the way. But I saw that and I went, I really don't like where the NFL is right now. I really don't like that when I see the outcomes of games now, and when I watch games that are close at the end and weird stuff happens, I now am at an all-time low when it comes to confidence level that things are happening because that's just how the game played out. The game I love feels like it may or may not be compromised. And that is a very, very weird thing for me. I'm still making peace about that. But let's move on. Let's talk about Houston. The Houston Texans beat Denver 22-19. This was a massive, massive win on Sunday for the Houston Texans. Oh my goodness. Houston is now 7-5. They have a shot at the division title, by the way, because on Monday night, the Jaguars just lost. So the AFC South is in a really, really interesting spot. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now 8-4. Houston is 7-5, one game behind them in the division. Oh, and there's plenty of time left for the Houston Texans, who I thought might not even, win more than a couple games this year. They might win their division. That's incredible. It's really cool. The Colts are 7-5. Indy's won 4 games in a row. The Colts are no slouch. But Houston's in a really good spot right now, and I think they've got a shot at making a playoff game, which is, if that happens, if the Houston Texans make a playoff game, you have to give DeMeco Ryans their head coach of the year. That's incredible. That really is a high-level coaching job from DeMeco Ryans, and CJ Stroud is awesome. They're winning. They're doing well. Now, from Denver's perspective, this was a tough loss. The Denver Broncos are now 6-6. They're currently the number 9 seed in the playoff standings. They have a shot at making a playoff game still, but the way this game ended was really tough. So for most of the second half, the Denver Broncos were down by 1 score. Denver was always in this game. Like, seriously, Denver hung around all game long. However, Denver Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson had not 1, not even 2, but 3 second half interceptions. The first one was tipped by Will Anderson at the line, got tipped, thrown off trajectory, but it got caught by Derek Stingley. The second interception was also picked off by Derek Stingley. He made an incredible play, breaking on the ball, deep over the middle on like a post route. And then the third interception ended the game. The final one was the most brutal. The first one sucked because it got tipped. The second one was just a great play by the defender that maybe Russ plays that bad a little better with his eyes, but man, like, I thought Derek Stingley made a great play on the ball. The third interception was a dagger to the heart. It was awful. Denver had the ball 3rd and goal at the 8-yard line with 16 seconds left to go. And Russell Wilson threw an interception on the goal line to seal the deal and give Houston the win. So I thought the way things went down for Denver, they were in the game, they're close, they're competitive, but Russell Wilson, 3 second half, 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 second half interceptions cost him the game. And that's a hard pill to swallow. That's really painful. By the way, there's some bad news for the Houston Texans walking away from this football game. Tank Dell, their star rookie receiver, who's had like just an incredible rookie year. 47 catches, 709 yards, 7 touchdown catches in 11 games. Tank Dell is out for the year after fracturing his fibula, which is painful and very sad, and I'm not excited about. I really have enjoyed what Tank Dell did this year. He's been an incredible addition to the team. He's looked really good with C.J. Stroud. His loss is one that I guess the Houston Texans are kind of making a push towards a playoff game potentially. They're one game behind the Jaguars in the division. It's all really tight between Indy and the Jaguars and Houston, but losing him does hurt because now they've lost one of their best receivers who's been really productive all year, and it's going to hurt their chances at making a playoff game. I maintain, though, if the Houston Texans can make a playoff game, win or not, you got to give DeMeco Ryans Coach of the Year. What he's done is the turnaround is incredible in Houston. I really admire it. He's done a great job, and what an easy guy to root for. On Monday Night Football, the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 34-31 in overtime. There's 2 really big storylines here. Number one is that Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence got hurt in the fourth quarter. He left a tie game, and you got to wonder if the Jaguars would have won had he stayed in. So that's number one. What happened to Trevor Lawrence? He got a high ankle sprain. We're still waiting to see how long that's going to put him out. But talk about, the AFC South is really close right now. Jaguars are 8-4. The Colts and Texans are 7-5. This is going to hurt their chances at winning their division. Trevor Lawrence being hurt, whether he plays soon or not, and it's usually not a season-ending injury. We don't know how long he's going to miss yet. It might require surgery, we're told, which is... Oh, no, sorry, that's Christian Kirk who got hurt. Christian Kirk might require surgery. Trevor Lawrence got hurt late in the fourth quarter, and we don't know, again, how it's going to affect his availability yet. Even if he's on the field, he's not going to be at 100%. And so this is a potential problem for the Jaguars moving forward as they try to win their division and make a playoff game. Here's the second storyline, though, from Monday Night Football you got to talk about. The Bengals beat the Jaguars 34-31 in overtime. And I'm shocked by what I'm about to say. I could not believe what I was watching. I was like, is this really happening? This is unbelievable. What? The Bengals' backup quarterback, Jake Browning, looked incredible. Accurate, good decision-making. He was 32 for 37 passing. It's only 5 incomplete passes all game. Jake Browning threw for 354 yards, had a touchdown pass. He also ran for a touchdown. He had 0 turnovers on the day. I did not see that coming at all. I thought the minute Joe Burrow got hurt, the year was over. It probably still is. Let's be real. Let's be honest. But I did not expect the Bengals backup quarterback to come in and look not only like serviceable, but he looked really good. Now, the Bengals are 6-6. A playoff game is still really unlikely. But if Jake Browning plays like that the rest of the year, maybe the Bengals will be okay, which I kind of cannot believe. I really am shocked. Jake Browning has been in the NFL since 2018. Hasn't played at all until this year. He was frankly not... He put up good numbers at Washington in college. I went to Washington State. I was in college when he was in college. I watched a lot of Jake Browning play football. He had an average arm, made some boneheaded decisions. I did not expect him to do anything like this, and maybe he had the game of his life. Maybe this is going to be a thing that continues. That remains to be seen, but what you got to say is that I can't believe how well he played on Monday night. And when you have no idea how good a guy is when you haven't seen them play since 2018. Like, you just have no idea what's been happening behind the scenes. Apparently, he's been doing a lot of work. Now, he's played here and there this year. This is not his first time getting into a game. But he didn't look like this until this point. But if this is a turning point for Jake Browning, he's kind of figuring out the NFL, that'd be kind of cool. And I really I respect what he did on Monday night. Had a great game, good decision-making, accurate. And wow, indeed. I could not believe how well Jake Browning played. I was just like, really? This is happening? This is still happening. It's still going well. I kind of can't believe it. Who would have thought Jake Browning would have like a 354 yards, 5 incomplete passes, and 2 touchdowns? What? Oh, okay. I guess that happened. Now, the Rams beat the Browns 36-19 I thought a cool thing about this game, the Browns losing, was just getting to watch their 38-year-old quarterback, Joe Flacco, playing quarterback for Cleveland and not looking terrible. Joe Flacco comes back from basically retirement, is with the team for a couple days, comes out, wasn't incredible, but Joe Flacco was 23 for 44 passing, had 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, had an interception. I thought he was fine. I was like, oh, Joe Flacco, wow, maybe there's something here. I'm really curious to watch Joe Flacco play more, actually, wearing a Cleveland Browns uniform. He's probably their best option at quarterback the rest of the year. And can you imagine this reality? What if Joe Flacco comes back and the rest of the year leads the Cleveland Browns to a Super Bowl? Because they have a roster, I think, capable of winning a Super Bowl. They just need good quarterback play. I don't know if that's Joe Flacco or not, but let's just imagine, what if that does happen? What if Joe Flacco wins a Super Bowl for the Cleveland Browns, and then the Browns next year have to go back to Deshaun Watson at quarterback? I love that idea. That's a right now, today, on Tuesday, December 5th, that's a real possibility. Now, how likely is that? Very unlikely, but it's one of the potential futures we have ahead of us. What if Joe Flacco leads the Cleveland Browns to a Super Bowl and then loses his job because they owe Deshaun Watson too much money, and Deshaun Watson becomes the starting quarterback once again next year, which would make sense anyway because Joe Flacco's 38 and would probably retire after winning a Super Bowl anyway. But what if Joe Flacco has a Kurt Warner moment here, goes off and wins a Super Bowl with the Browns? I'm not saying it's likely, but it's not impossible. And I thought, for not being in Cleveland very long, literally like he just got there, to come out, play decently was really surprising and interesting, and made me go, what if this is a thing? How fun would that be? That's really interesting to me. Now, Rams rookie receiver Puka Nacua had another incredible game on Sunday. He had 4 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown. Dude had a long 70-yard touchdown catch. I like watching Puka Nacua do well. The Rams are awesome. Cleveland 7-5 after this game. I'm really curious if they're going to make a playoff game. There's potential on the roster, and Joe Flacco really intrigues me. Now, the Rams are 6-6. They're 1 game right now out of a playoff spot. They're currently ahead of Seattle, actually, in the NFC standings for the playoff picture. I would really, really like to see the LA Rams in a playoff game. And I've talked about this before. I would rather watch the Rams in a playoff game than whoever wins the NFC South, whether that's Tampa, which I'm rooting for, or, God forbid, Atlanta or New Orleans. The Rams are like quality. They're fun. They're exciting. They've got a lot of stuff going on. They got a high-level quarterback who, Matthew Stafford's not perfect, but I watch every week and I go, he made another insane throw into a tight window where you're like, not a lot of guys, 4 or 5 on the planet can make that throw, and he does it every week. You're like, man. Somehow Matthew Stafford gets overlooked completely. I don't know how that's possible. He's in LA and no one pays attention. No one even, I feel like, mentions how good he is playing, but Matthew Stafford, has boneheaded moments for sure. Throws bad interceptions for sure, but he also, every week, I feel like, makes a throw or two where I'm just like, did you see the incredible thing he just did? I don't know, man. I think the Rams are fun. And I would rather watch the Rams in a playoff game than Seattle right now. The Rams are way more enjoyable to watch play football. Kyron Williams is awesome. I don't know, man. I'm really rooting for the Rams to make it into a playoff game. That would be very exciting. And I think, I don't know. Who would they play? Probably Philly or the 49ers, or they're probably going to be the number 7 seed if they make it in, so they'd be playing Detroit. Oh. Imagine that. Imagine if we got the Detroit Lions hosting Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams in a playoff game. That's what I want so badly now. Are you kidding me? How amazing would that be? Hey, if there is any buffoonery going on behind the scenes in the NFL where they're scripting games and they are making things happen with bad calls at the end of games, can we make that happen? Can we manipulate the game so that we got to have Matthew Stafford on the road in Detroit? That would be, the Lions right now are the number 3 seed. So they would have to be the number 6 seed in the NFC for that to happen. The Vikings right now are 6-6. They're the number 6 seed right now. It's not out of the realm of possibility. we could potentially get Matthew Stafford on the road in Detroit in a playoff game against his former team. I want that so badly. I think that would be unbelievable to see. That would be such a cool storyline, and I want that so badly. The Colts beat Tennessee on Sunday 31-28 in overtime. Really quietly somehow. People are not appreciating this, I feel like. The Colts have won 4 games in a row. Gardner Minshew's been fun to watch. He's not perfect by any means, but he's just... I don't know how anyone can watch Gardner Minshew play football and not like him and appreciate him and think he's just cool and entertaining and a fun storyline. You watch the guy celebrate after victory and you're like, that dude is awesome. I wish I had the enthusiasm level every day that Gardner Minshew has just as a human existing. I thought that was cool. Titans quarterback Will Levis got sacked 6 times by the Colts. Both defensive ends in Indy had a great game. Kwity Paye had 2 sacks. Samson Ebukam, my former high school teammate, also had 2 sacks. The Colts right now are 7-5. And right now, the Colts are the number 7 seed in the AFC. If the playoffs started today, you realize the Colts would make a playoff game. To me, that is really special and really, really cool. And for the way their year has gone, to lose their starting quarterback after a couple weeks, Anthony Richardson, Gardner Minshew comes in, wins a bunch of games in a row, rallies the troops. How can you not love what's going on in Indy? Gardner Minshew, man, he's awesome. He's not one of the best quarterbacks in football, right? He's not a top 10 quarterback, but he's a great leader. He rallies the people around him, and man, does he love playing football. How fun is that? I'm telling you, if you get a chance to watch the Colts this year, the thing you can appreciate is just watch the enthusiasm level Gardner Minshew plays with. He loves it. He's having fun. He's got a new lease on life, doing stuff he never expected to get to do. It's awesome, man. I really love it. Here's an interesting thought, by the way. I think the Colts winning so much this year, they're 7-5, they're a playoff team right now. I think it really shows us how bad Frank Reich is and was as a head coach. Last year, the Colts won 4 games. 4 games, and he got fired midseason. Miraculously, you get a new quarterback and a new head coach, and the Colts look way, way better this year. I think the way the Colts are doing right now, how well they're playing, how well things are going for them, reflects back poorly on their former head coach, Frank Reich, who they fired last year, who just got fired again for the 2nd year in a row in Carolina. I don't mean to attack Frank Reich, but man, the Colts have been fun. They look well coached. And that's the first time I've said that in a long time. The Chargers beat the Patriots 6-0. 6-0. Here's the story. The Patriots defense is playing out of their minds. The Patriots defense is fantastic. They're playing really, really, really good football. But the offense in New England can't do anything. They keep letting their team down. In the last 3 games, the Patriots have lost 10-6 to Indy. Their defense gave up 10 points and they lost. Then they lost 10-7 to the New York Giants and a undrafted rookie free agent quarterback, Tommy DeVito, guy who lives at home, which good for him. He's saving money and gets free food and laundry, I guess. But still, you lose 10-7. Your defense has another great game and you lose. And now you can't even score any points. You lose to the Chargers 6-0. What has to happen in New England for their offense to do anything? I don't know. It's shameful. I would really like to see Bill Belichick, the Patriots head coach, become a defensive coordinator. Have him back off of running everything. He should not be a general manager. He should not be the guy picking the players. He should be the guy coaching the defense. That's the thing he does really, really, really well. And man, he's a good defensive coach. I have an open mind. If they get like the number 1 pick or number 2 pick and they draft Caleb Williams, I want to watch that. I'll pay attention. But seriously, like Belichick has done a horrible job building any kind of offensive personnel. The receiving core is abysmal. There's no playmakers on offense. It's so insane how one-sided this Patriots team is. Their defense is amazing. And their offense is awful. Awful. And they're like, all we got to do is take this Bill Belichick guy away from general manager responsibilities. Don't let him pick the offensive personnel anymore. and just have him coach the defense. He should be he should coach with Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, or Matt LaFleur can you imagine, by the way? Everyone hates Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator in Green Bay. They've got a really awesome offensive head coach, Matt LaFleur, who has done a fantastic job with his young quarterback, Jordan Love. The defense in Green Bay has a lot of potential. Can you imagine if they were coached by Bill Belichick? Like, can we? I don't know if it's going to happen. I think Bill Belichick, actually, if they are terrible, they might keep him for one more year to see what he can do with Caleb Williams or Drake May or whoever they draft. But I think there's a huge missed opportunity here. Bill Belichick as a defensive coordinator with less responsibility, just coaching the defense with a really high-level offensive head coach is a dream scenario. Mike McDaniel running the offense and Bill Belichick running the defense, or Matt LaFleur running the offense, Bill Belichick running the defense in Green Bay. It's painful, man. The Patriots are so good on defense and so bad on offense, and you clearly just got to get the right coach paired with Bill Belichick and the right quarterback. I know that, but I'm telling you, man, I would not hire a defensive head coach ever again if I was in the NFL. If I'm an NFL decision maker, I'm like, hey, how about the guy who coaches the quarterback? That should be our head coach, for sure. That's the most important thing. Bill Belichick is an incredible defensive head coach. He's a defensive mind. It's amazing. And they're awful. They're losing so many games, and their defense is still playing out of their minds really good football. They're 2-10. The Patriots are 2-10. Get Belichick. I hate missed opportunities. And the idea of pairing Bill Belichick with Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, or Bill Belichick with Kyle Shanahan. I know it's not even really an option because they got a defensive coordinator like, but think of, the opportunity if you gave Bill Belichick a good quarterback and a good offensive coordinator who could run the offense, and then maybe a general manager. Just take some responsibility away from Bill. Please. Oh, it's a missed opportunity there. People are leaving good stuff on the table, and it's not happening. It's frustrating. The Lions beat the Saints 33-28 on Sunday. The final score is a lot closer than I thought it would be. I thought Detroit would handle them easily, and the reality is Detroit kind of allowed New Orleans to hang around. Detroit is still 9-3, good for them. But let's acknowledge the problem in New Orleans. I don't know if it's the problem. It's definitely a problem, though. Derek Carr, the quarterback in New Orleans, is a problem in New Orleans. He's capable of good stuff, man. I've seen him do some really good things this year. But he can't play a whole game without making a massive mistake or two. He's just too mistake prone. In the first quarter of this game against Detroit, he threw an interception deep in their own territory. It led to a Lions touchdown. They lost by 5 points. You handed the opposing team a touchdown, and you lost by less than a touchdown. That's a Derek Carr loss. And that's happened so many times this year where Derek Carr has fallen short of the expectation, and he's not playing up to a 4-year, $150 million contract, which is what he was given by the New Orleans Saints going into this year. My roommate is lighting up some amazing, what do we call it? The jazz cabbage. And I smell it, and it sounds like a lot of fun. Probably going to do that after recording this show. Anyway, Derek Carr is hurting the Saints way too much, and it is, my gosh, it's sad because I think the Saints, what are they going to do with their future? They got Derek Carr, probably at least for one more year contract-wise. I think you had to fire the head coach just because you need someone to help their offense, but there's talent. I really think there's talent in New Orleans that's not reaching their potential. That's a coaching problem, I guess, but man, Derek Carr, I love Derek Carr. Like, he seems like a nice human, but Derek Carr is still the same quarterback he was in Vegas, which is a guy who makes far too many mistakes and can't play consistent, high-level, clean football. And it's really costing his team. The Arizona Cardinals beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 24-10 on Sunday. The Steelers walked away from this game with a ton of injuries everywhere. The most notable injury to me is to their quarterback, Kenny Pickett. He's got a high ankle sprain. It's not supposed to be a season-ending injury, but there's also not very many games left. Regardless, the quarterback now moving forward in Pittsburgh is going to be Mitchell Trubisky. I don't want to watch that. I do not want to watch Mitchell Trubisky play football probably ever again. No offense, Mitch. I don't want to watch that. That's not fun to me. Pittsburgh they're 7-5. They're the number 5 seed in the playoffs right now. Feels pretty unlikely they're going to make a playoff game if Mitchell Trubisky is what's going to happen every week. Hey, maybe Mitchell Trubisky plays amazing football. And if that happens, I would be surprised, but not disappointed. I've got nothing against Pittsburgh. But this might be, we've never seen ever Mike Tomlin have a losing season. We are in danger of that. He's 2 games above 500 right now, 7-5. And there's a legitimate shot right now that in the final games of the year, they play the Patriots on Thursday. Then they play at Indy, who's playing really good football. You play the Bengals, the backup quarterback bowl with Jake Browning and Mitchell Trubisky. Then at Seattle and at Baltimore. Depending on playoff seeding, Baltimore might be coming out swinging in the final game of the year. It's very possible that this is the first year Pittsburgh ever has a losing season under Mike Tomlin. I hope I'm wrong. I like the streak, and I wouldn't celebrate that. But things are bad right now in Pittsburgh at the quarterback spot, and it's frustrating. All right, here's the funny thing about this game. Arizona won. So Kyler Murray, their quarterback, came back from a torn ACL. Remember, there was a lot of speculation. Are they going to trade Kyler Murray? Is he the quarterback next year? He comes back. They're winning. And I guess Kyler Murray really doesn't want the Arizona Cardinals to draft a quarterback to replace him, which makes sense to me. If the draft was today, the Cardinals would have the number 3 overall pick. And the more they win, the farther away they get from being able to draft a high-level quarterback to replace Kyler Murray. So Kyler's playing his tail off, trying to make everything happen. And I don't know. I maintain I'm not sure what the benefit of Kyler Murray playing this year was. However, with them winning a late game, 24-10 over a good Steelers team, we got a question about this on Patreon we'll talk about later, but maybe it's worth pointing out that the final 5 games of the year for the Arizona Cardinals is about developing their culture and maybe having Kyler Murray back, trying to win every game, fighting really hard, being in games, being competitive. It's probably good for next year as you head into next year with momentum. So maybe I just talked myself into it. Maybe it's starting to make sense playing Kyler Murray. You may not get a new quarterback to replace him. They seem okay with that. He's playing fine, and you're building momentum for next year in Arizona, which maybe is the focus right now for the Arizona Cardinals. Miami beat Washington 45-15. The Washington Commanders lose by 30. It's kind of amazing to me, actually, that Miami's got 9 wins this year, but they haven't really played anyone tough. Like the couple times they've played a game with a team with a winning record, they've lost. And now Miami continues just to beat up on garbage teams, man. Garbage teams with bad records have been obliterated by Miami this year. So I don't know what to make of that. I'm not really sure what to do with that information, but it is certainly weird. And I don't think I realized going into the year, like I thought the Jets were going to be better. I thought there were certain teams that have had things happen to them and they haven't panned out. Like I thought the Denver Broncos were going to be better than they are. But Miami's schedule turned out to be way easier than I thought. They're 9-3 and they've barely played anybody. And you're like, that's pretty wild. Let's look at their schedule. The Miami Dolphins. They lost to Buffalo 48-20. Ugh. They lost to Philly 31-17, and they lost to Kansas City 21-14. Here are the really impressive 9 teams that the Miami Dolphins have beat this year. They barely beat the Chargers by 2. They beat the Patriots 24-17. They beat the living daylights out of Denver 70-20. They beat the Giants. They beat Carolina. They beat the Patriots again. The Raiders, the Jets, and now Washington. I maintain the Dolphins have not beat a single good team this year, which is insane to say. They're 9-3, and the rest of their schedule. Tennessee, the Jets again, Buffalo, who's not that great. They got 2 tough games off. They play Dallas on Christmas Eve. That's going to be really exciting. And they play at Baltimore on the final day of December. I guess New Year's Eve. Wow, that's crazy. The NFL schedule worked out really well. Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. That's wild. Either way, Miami's got like 4 tough games all year, which is insane to me. I can't believe how manageable the Dolphins schedule ended up being upon reflection. By the way, Tyreek Hill in this game was a monster. He had 5 catches for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. The dude had 2 really long touchdown catches. I just want to say, I am not sure why Washington was playing Tyreek Hill the way they were. They're playing without safety help over the top. You're going to put Tyreek Hill in man-to-man coverage and not have a safety helping over the top. It makes no sense. It really feels like Washington was trying to give up long touchdowns to Tyreek Hill. You're like, hey, what are we doing on defense? I know you fired your defensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio, but what? That's your plan to guard Tyreek Hill? Awful, awful coaching from Washington on Sunday. Tampa beat Carolina 21-18 on Sunday. Baker Mayfield kind of got revenge on his old team. Remember, Baker was the starting quarterback briefly in Carolina. They got rid of him. Baker goes back. He beats his former team by 3. Tampa's now 5-7. Tampa's one game out of winning the NFC South. They're one game behind the 6-6, wildly mediocre Atlanta Falcons. I so badly want to see Baker Mayfield win the division and make a playoff game. I do not at all want to watch Atlanta make a playoff game. I don't want to watch Arthur Smith and Desmond Ridder stink up what's going on there in Atlanta. And man, I could not be rooting harder for Baker Mayfield to win the NFC South. I don't want to see Atlanta with a bad coach and a quarterback rewarded. If Atlanta wins their division, you realize they might keep their head coach Arthur Smith, which I very much do not want. So if you care about Atlanta, you should actually be rooting for Tampa Bay to win that division really hard, because I do not want to see... my fear is if Atlanta finds a way to sneak into a playoff game, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, well, it's working well enough. We won our division. We should probably keep our head coach. You don't want that. You want Arthur Smith? Gonzo. So Atlanta cannot win that division. Please, Tampa, please steal the division from the Atlanta Falcons. I want that so badly. Carolina's now 1-11. I don't even know what to say about them. The Carolina Panthers are awful. It's shameful. It's sad. I don't blame Bryce Young. I blame everything around him. The Falcons beat the Jets 13-6. It was an abysmal game. I feel bad for... I didn't watch this game live. I went back and let me be honest. I watch every game. This is the game this week I skimmed through lightly. I was like, I couldn't even care. I'm like, I don't want to watch this game. This is awful to me. Desmond Ridder against Tim Boyle. What an amazing quarterback matchup. Tim Boyle, baby, who got cut today, by the way. Tim Boyle's not even on the Jets roster anymore. Got benched for Trevor Siemian, who is also equally bad. Tim Boyle, by the way, threw another interception in this game against Atlanta. On the year, Tim Boyle's got 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions. In his career, Tim Boyle, 4 touchdown passes, 12 interceptions. Why am I sitting at home? I could be the Jets quarterback at that point. Well, how in the F did this guy make an NFL roster? I will never understand. He was horrible in college. He's been horrible in the NFL. Again, how tall is he? Doesn't even say. How tall is Tim Boyle? Let's Google it. That is probably it. He probably is like 6'6". Why does it not say how tall Tim Boyle height? Tim Boyle, 6'4". There it is. I am convinced. I will always be convinced my entire life. I'm 5'11". Trent Dilfer told me I was too small at the Elite 11. If I was 6'4", I could have at least been Tim Boyle. I could have at least been a horrible NFL quarterback. Dang it, man. I missed my calling. I should have been taller. Anyway, man. Atlanta's 6-6. They're kind of limping their way into the NFC South title. Again, there's no way fans in Atlanta feel good about what's happening with the Falcons. The coach and the quarterback both got to go, in my opinion. Oh, by the way, in losing now, the Jets are 4-8, which pretty much means their season is over, and it means there is no point in bringing Aaron Rodgers back from the dead of a torn Achilles. So the Jets are awful. Tim Boyle's gone. I will say this about Tim Boyle. Remember last week? Tim Boyle gave me my all-time moment of the year. My favorite moment of the entire NFL season so far is Tim Boyle throwing a Hail Mary pick 6 for halftime against Miami. Literally, like, I have not probably enjoyed... I know it's sick and twisted. I'm sorry. I feel bad that this is true, but I've probably not enjoyed any moment all year more than I enjoyed watching Tim Boyle's Hail Mary pick 6. The horrified look on Jets fans going into halftime against Miami, thinking they were down 10-6. Instead, it's 17-6. Oh, boy. Oh, man. It was so enjoyable. Oh, man. We got to read another ad read. This episode is also brought to you by Rocket Money. How do you keep track of all your subscriptions? Can you tell me for sure how many you have and who is taking money from you each month? Have you had trouble canceling a subscription? Or have you discovered you were being charged for something you didn't think you should be charged for? Here's the deal. Rocket Money can help you. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending and helps to lower your bills. I can see all of my subscriptions in one place, and if I see something I don't want, I can cancel it with a tap on the old iPhone. I have never had to get on the phone with customer service. Plus, they even try to get you a refund for the last couple months of wasted money and negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is take a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year, with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/SOS. That's rocketmoney.com/SOS. rocketmoney.com/SOS. You know what I realized, by the way? I have not done that ad read out loud. I wrote it up. That's the first time I've gone through it. I thought we did pretty okay, given I've never said any of those words out loud before. Not bad. Let's talk about college football. In college football this past weekend, we had the conference title game. So we had Washington beating Oregon 34-31 in the Pac-12 title game. What a game, by the way. Just probably one of the best games of the weekend. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was compelling. It was close. Alabama beat Georgia 27-24 in the SEC title game. Texas beat Oklahoma 49-21 in the Big 12 title game. By the way, what a way for Texas to leave the Big 12 and head to the SEC. Has anyone seen the video of the Big 12 commissioner getting booed mercilessly by Texas fans after that game, trying to get through a sentence congratulating Texas for winning, and he couldn't? And anytime a guy has to say, what I saw a YouTube comment, what did it say? It said, anytime a guy has to say, it's all good, it's never good. I saw that. It was like the top YouTube comment under the video I watched, and it's like, you're so right, man. It's such an uncomfortable, amazing moment. If you haven't watched it, look up Big 12 commissioner trying to, and then you'll probably find it, announcing Texas winning the Big 12. It's hilarious and fun. Florida State beat Louisville in the ACC title game 16-6. And in the Big 10 title game, Michigan beat Iowa 26-0, which I didn't even watch that game. I don't. Punting. Woo! Iowa, baby, they're awful. Here are the final. By the way, how amazing is it that Iowa made it to the Big 10 title game? Like, I hope they enjoyed that moment. It's probably the last peak success moment they'll have for a long time. Here are the final college football playoff rankings. This is who the College Football Playoff Selection Committee chose to make it into the college football playoff. The number one team is 13-0 Michigan, who won the Big 10 title. Number 2 is 13-0 Washington, who won the Pac-12 title, the last ever Pac-12 game. The number 3 team in the college football playoff, you probably already know, it's 12-1 Texas. They beat Alabama. And then Alabama, after beating Georgia and the SEC title game, was made the number 4 team in college football. They are 12-1. That means that the number 5 ranked team, the team that will not make it into the college football playoff, is 13-0 Florida State, who won the ACC title game. The ACC champion, 13-0, a Power 5 conference, undefeated team, did not make it into the college football playoff. So Florida State's number 5 team, the number 6 team in college football is 12-1 Georgia. Everybody's mad about this. Basically, like, no matter who you are, you're upset. Personally, I did not want Florida State in the college football playoff. Yes, they're 13-0, but I just don't want to watch a backup quarterback play against Michigan or Washington. I know that sucks. I know that they're more than their quarterback. I know their defense played great down the stretch. But I thought the justification from the College Football Playoff Selection Committee was like, look, watching them struggle to get a first down against Louisville made us go, we don't love that. Let's probably not put them in the college football playoff. I tend to agree. I look ahead, I see Texas playing Washington. That's going to be really fun. I see Michigan playing Alabama. That's going to be awesome. Here's what I don't like. I don't like Georgia being left out. But I understand you can justify saying, well, look, they had their college football playoff game. It was the SEC title game. They lost. The reality is this. Here's what's really important. Here's level-headed Zach talking to you. No matter what the college football playoff selection committee did, they were going to be wrong somehow. There was no good answer here. The reality is there were 6 teams deserving of making the college football playoff. I think actually the least deserving team was Texas, but they beat Alabama. So then the logic is, well, if they beat them, again, you can go back and forth all day. I don't want to do that. The lack of flexibility really, really frustrates me here. 4 teams is a bad system. Why can't we just make an adjustment for this year? It's a special emergency thing we got to do. We get 6 teams this year. You're telling me you can't make it happen? You can't give Washington and Michigan a first-round bye and then have games between Florida State, Georgia, Alabama, and Texas? We could do that. We can do whatever we want. But we're not going to do that because we're stuffy and weird and annoying. No matter who was chosen, the committee was going to have to leave out a team that was deserving, in my opinion. It's the last year with a 14 playoff ever. Good riddance, by the way. I hate that so much. It makes you realize how bad only having 2 teams was. The BCS was even worse. The number 1 and number 2 team, and that's it. I'm excited to have an expanded college football playoff. I don't have a lot of anger here. I'm not mad about Florida State. I didn't want to watch Florida State play, and Georgia had a shot, and they lost to Alabama. If Georgia beats Alabama, they're in. Florida State's the team that did everything they could and got screwed over. But I don't want to watch Florida State's backup quarterback against Washington. I just don't want to see that. That's the reality. Sorry, I'm much more excited about Texas-Washington than I would have been about Washington-Florida State. It's just true. It sucks to say that, but that's the reality. So I don't know, man. Instead of being mad at the selection committee for picking the wrong teams or not, the thing I'm mad about is a lack of flexibility. The lack of imagination. The lack of willingness to change the system on the fly to make a better product. Most of my life, I've beaten my head against structure and systems. I hated college because I had to take chemistry when I was a media production major, and it never made sense to me. Why was I in entomology, the study of bugs? I want to make videos for a living, and you're making me study cockroaches. Never made sense to me. It was a waste of money, and I hated it. But that's the way the world works, right? As I've grown up, I've had to accept, hey, just because you want something, just because you think a different solution makes sense, doesn't mean it's what you're going to get, doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. The world is full of all kinds of unfair, messed up things that happen every day, all the time. This is another one of those things. But I want to point out, there's another way. We could have 6 teams in the college football playoff if we really wanted to, but we're inflexible. As a society, we refuse to adjust on the fly when the plan isn't working. That is something that drives me nuts about basically everything on our planet. Now, I've had to accept that. I've had to accept that I may not always like stuff, but I get to talk about it on my show. There were 6 teams that should have made it in. We could still have 6, but we're entrenched in this thing we decided years ago. We have to have 4 teams, and we can't be flexible. That makes me sad. Next year, there's going to be 12 teams in the college football playoff. Please, next year, do not come to me crying, talking about how the number 13 and number 14 teams should have made it in. No. Never. No. For me, 12 is actually too many teams. 12 teams in a college football playoff doesn't make sense. The number 12 team is probably never going to win a national title. That's how far apart the 12 and number 1 team are in the NFL, in college football, excuse me. Georgia could beat probably any of the teams that are ranked ahead of them. Beyond Georgia, I think we only need probably 8-team playoff is probably about right. We'll do 12. But next year, if your team, who's a team that, Liberty, right? If Liberty is undefeated and doesn't make it into the college football playoff, I don't want to hear it. Hey, sorry. They're not going to beat a big boy college football program. It's not going to happen. By the way, we're seeing a new thing where they might create a new football subdivision in football where the teams that are the most wealthy are going to split off and do their own thing and potentially pay players $30,000 a year for 4 years. And they're going to be on salary. And the teams that can afford it are going to elevate to a higher level of college football, meaning we're probably going to see like the SEC and Big Ten, and those are the only programs that can actually afford that. And they're going to raise to it, it's going to be FBS paid, FBS Division I, then FCS Division I Championship Series. So it's going to be all different tiers of college football. College football is about to change seismically in a lot of ways. Never, ever, 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 ever try to tell me that the number 13 team that didn't make it into the college football playoff got screwed over. They probably have a couple losses. They probably had a couple games they could have played better, and you'll never get sympathy from me. But if you're the number 5 ranked team and you're undefeated, I understand your frustration. That makes sense to me. 4 teams is not enough. 12 is probably right, but I still think you're letting too many teams in. And I'm never going to sympathize with the 13th or 14th ranked team next year that doesn't make it into the college football playoff. No, you had your chances, and you blew it. Florida State, however, had their chances, took care of business every chance they could, and a decision cost them. And that's unfortunate for them. I feel bad for them. College football's transfer portal season is beginning, which means that quarterbacks are about to move everywhere, and it's going to be beautiful and fun and exciting. Washington State quarterback Cameron Ward has entered the transfer portal. One of the teams I've seen mentioned about Cameron Ward is Ohio State. I believe, so he's considering the NFL or transferring. I believe Cameron Ward should stay in college football. Go transfer to Ohio State or maybe LSU. Have a great final year of college football. Make some money, probably make about $2 million in NIL deals by moving. And play for a really good college football program and elevate your stock as an NFL player. Right now, Cameron Ward, to me, is an incredibly, incredibly talented player that I have said, you can go back. I have said this so many times. I'm very proud of this. I have never wavered. Cameron Ward is a quarterback who is capable of winning a Heisman Trophy. He's that talented. His ability to run, make every throw, scramble around, extend plays. Cameron Ward is unbelievable, the quarterback at Washington State, and nobody paid attention to him for years now. Cameron Ward at Ohio State, Heisman Trophy candidate, and probably the guy I would vote on. I would bet on winning in August. Cameron Ward at LSU, capable of winning a Heisman Trophy. He's that talented and that good. Give him great players around him, a bigger platform, better coaching. Cameron Ward is going to win a Heisman Trophy if he transfers to like LSU or Ohio State. I really believe that. You can, a year later, come back to this and go, Zach was right. Oh my gosh, he's that talented. He just needs a platform to show what he can do. He was buried for years in Pullman, Washington, where I went to college. It's wheat fields. That's it. There's nothing out there, and no one pays attention to Washington State. I am so fired up to watch Cameron Ward probably transfer to a much better program, get a bigger platform, and show the world what he can do. I believe in him. He's incredible. And I really want to see him play for a high-level college football program. Ohio State's quarterback, Kyle McCord, has entered the transfer portal. I think it makes sense given the recent Cameron Ward rumors. They're like, oh, wait, I might lose my job. I should probably enter the portal too. What did I say recently about Kyle McCord? Anyone remember that after the Michigan game? I said Kyle McCord better enjoy being the man at Ohio State while it lasts. I said, hey, this is going to be the peak of his career as a football player. He's probably not an NFL quarterback. This is the best it's ever going to get. And it might be over even faster than I thought. He might lose his job between this year and next year to Cameron Ward. There are rumors of Kyle McCord getting replaced. Unbelievable. It happened way faster than I thought. Oklahoma's quarterback Dylan Gabriel, Mililani kid from Hawaii. He's also entered the transfer portal. It would be his third college. He went to Central Florida, then Oklahoma. Now he's potentially going to leave Oklahoma for another team. It makes sense to me. He's not viewed as a top quarterback prospect. Again, if you transfer as a top college quarterback, you're in the running to make a couple $1 million. Like you're going to make $2 million. He goes to USC to play for Lincoln Riley. That's a big paycheck coming Dylan Gabriel's way. On top of that, Oklahoma just lost their offensive coordinator, and they're going to the SEC. So they're going to a tougher conference. They don't have the offensive coordinator he's been coached by. Dylan Gabriel entering the college football playoff, and I'm almost certain he's going to transfer. He's making a good business decision. He's like, hey, I'm going to make some money while I can, try to go to a different program, elevate my NFL stock. Makes sense to me. I think, I don't know where he could go. I have no idea yet. USC makes sense to me. Maybe we'll see Cameron Ward go to USC. That would be amazing. I think USC, LSU, and Oklahoma are the three most intriguing schools that are going to need a quarterback going into next year that might get a transfer portal quarterback. Where's Dylan Gabriel going to go? I don't know, but I think he's doing absolutely the right thing by exploring all of his options. Here's a couple other notable quarterbacks entering the transfer portal. You've got DJ Uiagalelei from Oregon State. They just lost their coach. Makes sense to me. You got a veteran starter from Kansas State, Will Howard. You got a young, talented freshman, Dante Moore from UCLA. He had 11 touchdowns and 9 interceptions in 9 games this year. Dante Moore, only significant playing time in 5 of those games. Again, not great. He wants to go somewhere to develop. Interesting. Okay. Probably make some money. Transfer. Makes sense to me. Riley Leonard from Duke. He's a guy in the transfer portal. Remember, his year got cut short by an ankle injury. Duke is a really tough academic school. He's a better quarterback than Duke deserves, in my opinion. That's going to be interesting. Grayson McCall is leaving Coastal Carolina for a bigger opportunity. Hopefully he's going to find better coaching. If you don't know the story, Jamie Chadwell is the old coach at Coastal Carolina who left before this year. Jamie Chadwell went to Liberty. They went undefeated this year. Without Jamie Chadwell, his former coach, Grayson McCall had his weakest year of production in his college career. He's going to try to transfer somewhere, get to a bigger program, show what he can do, and probably get better coaching. I think that's, of the quarterbacks I've mentioned, Grayson McCall is one of the least exciting, but he's got some potential in it. There was one point where people thought he might be a potential NFL quarterback. I'm not that excited, but I'm interested, and we'll see where he goes. To me, the number one, the most intriguing prospect in the transfer portal by far, Cameron Ward. I think that's very obvious. The other guy right behind him, Dylan Gabriel, can play a little bit. Dylan Gabriel in LSU's culture, playing for maybe Lincoln Riley at USC, something like that. Really exciting. If I am Cameron Ward, I want to go to Ohio State, baby. I want to get great coaching, play with great receivers, and win a lot of games. I think that'd be fun. The other school Cameron Ward should consider, I think USC, man. They have a lot of fun on offense. They got a new defensive coordinator from UCLA. I don't know. I think it has to be clear, like, the number one guy available is Cameron Ward. Where is he going to go? I think it's weird, actually. More people aren't talking about that. To me, he is the biggest free agent right now in college football, the most talented quarterback available. And he can probably go wherever he wants, in my opinion. His highlight reels are amazing. I watch him play a lot. He's fantastic. He's got some Mahomes-like qualities where 3rd and 19, he'll run around, extend a play, throw for a first down or even a touchdown, and you're like, I've been saying for years, Cameron Ward's amazing. He's been underappreciated and undervalued for a long time, and I think he's about to get the credit he deserves and go to a really good program. And worst case scenario, he makes $2 million and doesn't go anywhere in the NFL. Best case scenario, he makes $2 million, then becomes a first-round pick, then becomes a franchise quarterback in the NFL. It's a win-win for him, and I'm excited to watch it. All right. This coming weekend will be NFL Week 14. 2 teams have a bye this week. Arizona and Washington will not play. I think I said at one point the Arizona Cardinals have 5 more games this year. Maybe that was wrong. Their bye week is this right now. So maybe Arizona's got 4 games left for the Cardinals. They play San Francisco, at Chicago, at Philly, then Seattle. Don't see a lot of wins the rest of the year for the Arizona Cardinals. Maybe I spoke too soon earlier. If you heard me on the show and you didn't like what I said earlier, you were probably right, because now that I look at it, they got 4 games left. They probably beat Chicago. Maybe Seattle on January 7th. I'm not sure, but I don't feel great about the rest of the year for Arizona at all. On Thursday Night Football, you got the worst game of the year. Do not watch Thursday Night Football. Do it if you want. I don't care what you do, but I will watch. I don't want to. Thursday Night Football, you got the Patriots playing the Steelers. Patriots are 2-10. Steelers are 7-5, so they're not awful, but they've got Mitchell Trubisky at quarterback against a great Patriots defense. Oh, and by the way, the Steelers defense also is pretty good playing against Bailey Zappi. It's just going to be a defensive battle, which maybe you like. You like defense, Prime Video, go for it. I don't want to watch Trubisky playing Bailey Zappi. That sounds awful to me. On Sunday Night Football, the Philadelphia Eagles play the Dallas Cowboys. It's the biggest game of the week by far. The Eagles are 10-2. The The Cowboys are 9-3. The Cowboys have a chance to tie the Eagles at the top of the NFC East at 10-3. It's a prove-it game for Philly. For Dallas, excuse me. The Dallas Cowboys have a shot here to show that they are indeed a team that can beat any team in the NFL. I remember I have the remnants of that loss to the 49ers in the back of my head, 42-10. Hey, Dallas Cowboys, you beat the Eagles at home. You start the year 10-3. You recapture that NFC East title. You'll have my respect. So we will see what the Dallas Cowboys can do with a huge opportunity on Sunday night hosting Philly. A couple other great games. Kansas City plays Buffalo. The Bills are 6-6. The Chiefs are 8-4. The Bills have been disappointing this year, but they're still really talented. They can beat most teams in the NFL, honestly. I don't think there's a team that Buffalo couldn't beat on their best day. I think it's really interesting. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, it's going to be great. I'm surprised it's not a primetime game, honestly. Again, we keep doing this. Like, the Monday night games are abysmal. I'm like, well, you couldn't make Bills, Chiefs, Monday Night Football. That sounds great to me. I would have watched that. That sounds fun. But that's going to be a great game. The Jaguars play the Browns. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to play. We'll find out. The Browns are 7-5. The Jaguars are 8-4. Joe Flacco, baby, playing for the Cleveland Browns. Can Joe Flacco pull a Kurt Warner and win a Super Bowl with the Cleveland Browns? I'm not sure, but I want to find out. That sounds like a lot of fun. Will Trevor Lawrence play? Probably not. Got a high ankle sprain. That's going to be interesting, man. The 49ers play Seattle. I don't have a lot of confidence in Seattle. Seattle's 6-6. The 49ers are 9-3. I think the Niners are the best team in football. I'll watch that game. It's got ramifications for their division, but Seattle's falling farther and farther behind the 49ers. If they lose this game, Seattle would be 6-7, and it's basically a must-win game in Santa Clara, by the way. It's a road game for Seattle, so I'm concerned about that. Tampa plays Atlanta. I'm rooting so hard for the Buccaneers to beat the Atlanta Falcons this weekend. It would make them have the same record. I want to see Tampa Bay win the division. I want to see Baker have a good moment this year, winning the NFC South. And what you don't want to see, I think even Falcons fans should be agreeing with me, you do not want to see the Atlanta Falcons win their division this year, because that means they might keep their head coach, Arthur Smith, and that would be a tragedy. So everyone on earth, except for Arthur Smith's own family, should be rooting for the Buccaneers to beat Atlanta on Sunday. The Detroit Lions play the Chicago Bears. The Lions should win, man. The Lions are going to start 10-3 if they win this game, which they should win in Chicago. I don't have much to say. The Bears are 4-8. The Lions are 9-3. The Lions find a way to make games against bad teams interesting, though, and close, but they do win them. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there, but I believe firmly that Detroit's going to beat Chicago in Chicago on Sunday. Here's a really interesting game. The battle of the backup quarterbacks. Gardner Minshew and the Indianapolis Colts at 7-5. Right now, the number 7 seed in the AFC against the 6-6 Cincinnati Bengals, who are led by Jake Browning, another backup quarterback who's coming off of like an incredible performance. 32 for 37 passing, 354 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jake Browning, where did you come from? What happened? How did you end up playing so well on Monday Night Football? I have no idea. But yeah, battle of backups. And I think it's actually, you want to watch a fun game that's coming out of nowhere. Colts Bengals in Cincinnati this weekend is going to be actually probably like a really good, interesting game that I have no idea who's going to win. So in the fourth quarter, it's probably going to be close and exciting and interesting. You should watch that game. And when you watch the Colts play Cincinnati, hopefully win, I want to see Gardner Minshew win. Appreciate and enjoy the enthusiasm and joy that Gardner Minshew plays with. It's such a treat to get to watch that guy play football. It's awesome. The Carolina Panthers play the New Orleans Saints. The Panthers are 1-11. The Saints are 5-7. The Saints should win, but the Saints are the Saints. Maybe Carolina finds a way to win their second game of the year this year. First without Frank Reich. It's just awful. I don't know. I want to care, and I don't. Houston plays the Jets. The Jets, I believe, are going back to Zach Wilson at quarterback. The Jets are 4-8. Their season is over. I want to see Houston win this football game. The Houston Texans are 7-5. 8-5 would put them in a good shot to maybe steal a division from the Colts or the Jaguars. I want to see Houston make a playoff game. That'd be really cool. So I am rooting for the Texans hard against the Jets on the road. By the way, CJ Stroud against a really good Jets defense is a fun matchup here. That's going to be interesting. The Rams play at Baltimore. The Ravens are 9-3. The Rams are 6-6. The Rams are exciting, though. The Rams are fun, and they can put up points. So I think Rams-Ravens is really interesting. The Ravens should win. They right now are one of the best teams in the AFC. Right now, I believe, actually, if the playoffs started today, the number one seed in the AFC would be Miami, not Baltimore. But that could still change. I don't know, man. It's going to be really, really interesting. Can the Ravens beat a team they're better than for sure, but albeit a really exciting team, and the Rams are fighting hard to keep their season alive and their playoff hopes alive? That's actually a really good game. Rams against Ravens. The Minnesota Vikings play against the Las Vegas Raiders. That's going to be interesting. I bet a lot of Vikings fans will be in attendance. Vegas is a place people go when they want to get away from the cold winter. Minnesota's cold right now. In December, you bet your bippy. So, Vikings, man, I'm really interested. This is actually like an interesting game. It feels like very even playing field between two teams that are not great. They're kind of average, and they're fighting to stay relevant this year. That'll be interesting. The Denver Broncos play against the LA Chargers. The Broncos are 6-6. The Chargers are 5-7. It's a mediocre bowl. That'll be interesting. I think Denver wins. Denver seems to be, they're getting better. I know they just lost a tough game. Russell Wilson had 3 interceptions in the second half, but the Chargers I have no confidence in at all. Their head coach, Brandon Staley, is abysmal. I think Denver wins. They start the year 7-6, and that would put them in a shot. They'd be in a spot. If Denver can win this game against the Chargers on Sunday, they'll have an opportunity to still be fighting for a playoff spot. So it's a must-win game for the Denver Broncos for sure. Monday Night Football is very weird to me. We got 2 games on Monday night. They start at the exact same time. One's on ESPN, one's on ABC. Why? Why is this happening? Why are there 2 Monday night games? Why are they happening at the same time? Why are they not staggered at least? And why are they bad teams? You got Tennessee playing Miami. Miami's going to obliterate Tennessee on Monday night. That's awful. Miami's 9-3. They beat every bad team they play. The Titans are 4-8. There's no shot there. And the Packers play the Giants. What? I don't get it. I do not understand who in the is scheduling these games. What's happening? Why are bad teams consistently being put on national TV? You know why, though? I think it's gambling. Who's got one of the biggest fan bases in the world, at least in the NFL? One of the biggest fan bases in the NFL are Green Bay, Pittsburgh, and Dallas. The Giants are also a big fan base that's really passionate. You want to get people to gamble on a game, you put the Packers and Giants in primetime. That is why this is a primetime game. I hate that. I want good games between good teams. I don't want decisions like that made to benefit gambling sponsors. I hate it. I hate it. It's awful to me. The NFL is it's changing in ways I don't like. And Packers-Giants, that is not what I want to watch on Monday Night Football. I also don't want to watch Tennessee against Miami. They're both bad games. They're happening at the same time. Why isn't the Monday night game either the Bills and Chiefs, or how about, I don't know, like anything else? Colts-Bengals would be a really fun Monday night game. I know they just played, and that's not going to happen. But I think that Bills-Kansas City is a great game. That should be a primetime game that's not. And instead we're getting Green Bay and New York. What? Oh, my bad. Tennessee and Miami. That's going to be a great game. No, it's not. I hate the way the NFL is being managed right now. It's very tough for me. I don't like it. Let's now answer some questions from Patreon. I promised I would come back to this, and I will read this abhorrent question. Oh boy. Justin says, hey, Zach, sounds like my last... By the way, if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Zach Schaumler, patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. It's the best way to support the show. Now, if you donate $1 a month, my only guarantee is I look at every single question with my eyeballs. I do not guarantee to read your question on the show. But I look at every single question with my eyeballs. I pick the top couple to read at the end of every show, and I read most of them. So if you write in, there's a pretty good chance you'll be read on the show. Go to patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. Also, if you support the $5 tier or higher, you get access to the Strong Opinion Sports Discord. It's fun. We hang out there. I love it, man. I really love the group there. It's fun. It's cool. I'm going to put in right now, recording right now. Oh, I can't even type. 1 second. Recording right now. Hello, everyone. You will hear this on the show. Bam. Okay. Justin writes in. Justin says, hey, Zach. Sounds like my last unhinged question was weak, so I wanted to ask a better one. I asked this question in a group chat several weeks ago, and it was very surprising how split down the middle the answers were. Here's Justin's unhinged question this week. Would you rather wake up with a headache every day for the rest of your life or shoot a dog? Huh. Shoot a dog. You know what you didn't say there? You didn't say kill a dog. You said shoot a dog. Does that mean like you shoot it in the tail and the ball, the thing ricochets and does no damage? If you mean end the life of an innocent, sweet dog, I'll take the headaches every day. Because I think if I shoot a dog and the dog dies, for the rest of my life, I'm going to have headaches from the guilt. So that's my answer, I guess. But you don't say eliminate the dog, you say shoot the dog, which means maybe the dog lives. You also didn't specify, maybe it's a mean dog. Maybe it's a dog attacking me. I will defend myself if I'm going to die, I guess. But when you say a dog, I envision a sweet, innocent animal that's done nothing wrong. And I frankly would rather shoot myself than shoot an innocent dog. I don't think I could live with the guilt or the pain of that. So I'll take headaches, I guess. And that's unhinged. I want unhinged in like a fun way, though. You can do better. We can definitely ask better questions. But I know the unhinged question is a new thing. But let's send in some fun ones, man. I want to hear you guys really like challenge me, man. Like questions like, I don't know, is a hot dog a sandwich? That's unhinged. But I'll have that conversation. We can talk about whatever you want. Send them in. Like bring in. Really challenge my beliefs with ridiculous questions. I want to have fun with it. Maybe I should say ridiculous, unhinged questions, but I want it to be fun. I'm sorry, Justin, but talking about potentially ending the life of a dog is not fun for me. And I'm not going to open the show with that. So there you go. Biggest Dickus writes in and says, hey, Zach's Orbitals, have you ever thought of getting tattoos? If so, how many, what style, and where? Oh, I definitely want tattoos. I want to get an Omega symbol for my brother on my forearm. My brother, when he died, left a journal behind with all his writings. He wanted to be a philosopher. He was going to be a philosophy major at Vanderbilt. My brother was very cool. He was really smart, really thoughtful. And the Omega symbol was how he signed off every journal entry. It means like the end. I'd love to get that to represent him. I also want to get the quote, be curious, not judgmental, and then a dart, representing the dart scene in Ted Lasso. It's also a quote I live by. I love it. And so the problem is I'm about to start a job in sales, like a professional job with I'm talking to clients all day. Probably not great to have like a bunch of tattoos all over my forearms. I'm sure I could get away with it in today's culture if I do it in a classy way. But financially and also appearance-wise, tattoos are not going to happen anytime soon. I have no tattoos yet. I want to get them. Also, you hear that little announcement I slid in. So yeah, I'm entering like the professional world for the first time. I'm not just going to be a guy who can wear backwards hats and be a plumber, and I'm not just going to be a guy who sits at home in my underwear watching football. So I have to kind of present myself a little bit more grown up, I guess. And so I don't know if tattoos are in the future yet, but maybe someday. Gabe writes in. I'll skip this one and come back to it. Gabe, I want to read your question, but it's very long and it's all over the place, and I want to read one about sports. So Lucas says, how much do you think you blame... Lucas says, how much blame do you think Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh deserve for having no backup plan at quarterback, both before and after Aaron Rodgers went down? I don't blame them at all. Aaron Rodgers was the plan, and that makes sense to me. You don't bring Aaron Rodgers in and then plan on him tearing his Achilles 4 games into the year. You plan on having Aaron Rodgers be your starting quarterback all year long. I've got no blame at all for them. They got dealt a really bad hand. Aaron Rodgers got hurt immediately to start the year. But if Aaron Rodgers is the Jets quarterback all year, are we not sure they're maybe 8-4 instead of 4-8 at minimum? Like I really think they just got dealt a bad hand. It was bad luck. And so I have no anger or blame pointed towards Joe Douglas or Robert Saleh at all. That's the head coach and GM of the New York Jets. Jeffrey writes in. Jeffrey says, hello to Zach and your eyeballs. I know you said you've been gaming less lately, but what do you consider your favorites right now to play besides Fortnite? Thanks as always. I had a developer reach out to me. They sent me a code on Switch for the Arkham trilogy, so I haven't played it yet other than like the intro sequence, but I want to play Arkham Asylum. That would be a really fun game. No Man's Sky. That's the kind of thing. When you have like a podcast, sometimes people do cool stuff. I give you gifts and stuff. I got the gift of Arkham Asylum. I can't wait to play that handheld on my Switch. That's kind of like, it's amazing. And that's a great game. So I've only played Asylum. I've never played Arkham City or Arkham Knight. So at some point when I've got time, I'm going to sit down on my Switch and play through those games. That'll be really fun. That's about it right now. I played Tomb Raider recently. I got to 97% left completed, and I have like the final mission left, but I don't want to finish it because it's fun and I don't want that to end. So I've noticed recently I get to the end of games, get to like the final mission, and then I don't finish it because I don't want the thing I love to end. And almost every game I've played in the last 2 years has been that way. Witcher, I got to the very end and I didn't finish. Like I played like hours and hours and hours of The Witcher, and then I literally at the final thing I said, I love this. I don't want it to end, so I didn't finish it. It's interesting. I have a hard time letting go of stuff. You know what's funny? This is a tangent, but I said earlier, like, you got to take your time developing opinions, and I've always done that with my show. I've done a bad job doing that with my own life. I've really, I think, developed opinions very quickly and been kind of quick to judge, and it's interesting, like, philosophically, I'm so careful when I talk about sports, and I got to do a better job of being more careful in my own personal life, too. It's I said that earlier in the show, and it made me go like, oh, wow. I should probably apply my what I'm saying to my real life. Gabe writes in. Gabe says, hello, Zach. It's time to finally get this off my chest. I'm worried about the Seattle coaching staff. Our talent on the roster is significantly better than it was last year, and yet we're performing about the same. Similar record through 13 weeks, and the changes that weren't made were to our coaching staff. As much as I love Pete Carroll, I just don't think he has it in him anymore because he is supposed to be a defensive guy, yet his defenses have been mediocre to bad since the Legion of Boom days. It's incredibly basic and weak, and I just can't keep up. And it just can't keep up. I want to know what you think of Pete because although he's legendary, do you think it's his time? Yeah. I love Pete Carroll too. He's awesome. But Seattle's underachieving right now. Maybe they're overachieving. It's hard to judge. I don't know. They're a young team. I don't think you fire Pete Carroll. He's not been bad enough to fire. But we are in the final year or two, I think, of Pete Carroll in Seattle. I think he stays through this year for sure. But if they draft a quarterback and that guy, you know, I think Geno Smith is the guy for maybe a year or two more. If they draft a young guy, though, then maybe what you see in Washington with Seattle Seahawks is a hiring of an offensive head coach to work with a young quarterback. And I think Pete Carroll's got another year or two left in Seattle. But after that, it's time to start looking to the future. Just because, I wonder, is Seattle underachieving or are they just a really young team that's still building? It's hard to tell that from where I'm sitting right now, but I don't know. Colin writes in. Colin says, hey, Zach, on your most recent episode, you talked a lot about how the Cardinals and Patriots fans, among others, should be rooting for losses. It is obvious you are a proponent of tanking in some situations, so I wanted to push back a little bit and use the 2022 Lions as a counterpoint. While losing helps your draft position, it means nothing if you can't eventually make the flip and create a winning culture. Do you think there's some value in late season wins in order to begin changing the culture for the next year? I think you're right on to something. I talked about it earlier. I think you're on to something there. Would you sacrifice a draft spot or two to start heading in a good direction for next year? I guess maybe. It depends on who you are, how desperately you need a quarterback. But let me tell you this. Everybody in the building, the head coach, the players, everyone's trying to win every week. You may not win every week, and I think Arizona's probably not going to win more than one more game the rest of the year. But they're going to try every week to win every single game, and that's the NFL. say what you want about it's rigged and GMs do all kinds of stuff to sabotage their teams, but players and coaches do everything they can every single week to win, because winning and playing well helps you keep your job. Joe writes in, Joe says, "Hey, Zach's eyeballs. I've never played football or wrote a script for a podcast, but I imagine that they require similar levels of preparation, especially with the new weekly format. How do you cultivate the discipline or passion to be able to get through the prep work and enjoy the fun bit at the end?" How do I do strong opinion sports? Is like what you're saying. How do I do the, honestly, like weekly is way easier for me. Like weekly is a couple hours. Weekly is much more simple for me. I can do a little bit of prep every night. I'm kind of, my head is always turning. I'm always thinking of stuff to talk about on the show. And doing a weekly show just means I can, instead of having to prepare something every day like I used to be, I can just throughout the week, I'm at work. Your brain is always going in the background, thinking of stuff and stories and just following the media a little bit. And so when it comes time to record on Tuesdays for me, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to go. I've been thinking about this stuff for the last 7 days of my week. And so actually, I think this is the easiest way to do the show is weekly. And it makes for a better show that's more relaxed and thought out and thought through. But preparation, I think as I've grown up, you have to prepare. You have to work. You have to do stuff you don't want to do. As an adult, part of the deal is doing things you don't want to do. That's what you have to do as a human to survive. And so it would have been harder for me 5 years ago maybe, but now at this point, as a plumber, as an HVAC technician, and the things I've done, like I demoed a bathroom today. Do you realize like my job today was to rip out a shower, the tiles, a toilet. I ripped out a sink and the entire cabinet, took it all out, put it in the yard, demoed it all, put it in the back of a truck, capped off the shower, turned off water back on, and installed the water heater. Like I'm doing stuff all day I don't really want to do. You think I want to install water heaters? You think that's like the thing I want to do? No, but you got to do what you got to do to survive. It's discipline. Doing stuff you don't want to do requires discipline. And so I get up at 4 o'clock every morning now. I leave for my job at 7. I get there at 8. Takes really about 30 minutes to ride a bike there, but I get there early at 7:30 because I want to just be professional as being there early and ready to go and asking good questions. And so I do all the little things right, and that really matters, and that makes you more successful in the world. And part of growing up is accepting that you got to do the little things maybe you don't want to do to get ahead and have a successful life and be able to pay your bills and eat food and pay your rent. So I don't know if I answered that very well, but that's my answer. Fernav Liz says, "Hello, Zach Zeno. That's a tough one. Just a random question from a casual fan of the NFL who barely knows star players' names. I hear people trashing Bill Belichick because he hasn't built a good team for the Patriots recently. However, him being a coach and a team manager and maybe a good relation with the owner, to me it looks like a perfect position for tanking. So my questions are, is Bill Belichick tanking? Is he doing that in secret? Maybe nobody would just believe a Hall of Fame coach would do that. I don't know why I don't go near this idea more often. Is this like a paranoid conspiracy theory? Anyways, great show as always. Keep up the good work." For Navliz, the reason why I think people aren't accusing Bill Belichick or theorizing Bill Belichick is tanking is because it doesn't appear intentional that he's losing. Also, Bill Belichick has made a lot of moves since Tom Brady left New England that haven't worked. In fact, I would argue almost everything Bill Belichick has done has not worked. Cam Newton was brought in, didn't really kill it. Mac Jones was drafted. He has lost his job in New England. He didn't hire an offensive coordinator. He hired instead Matt Patricia, the former defensive coordinator, and the former head coach of the Giants and special teams coordinator, Joe Judge, to be co-offensive play callers, which is wild and didn't seem to work at all. He hired Bill O'Brien. That didn't work. Like almost every move Bill Belichick has made since Tom Brady left to try to make the Patriots better has backfired significantly. So now Belichick no longer deserves the benefit of the doubt. When Bill Belichick does something bad, now I go, that's probably just bad. Because I've watched Bill Belichick fail for a couple of years now, over and over again, doing multiple things. And I go, I don't trust you anymore. I don't believe in you. So you say maybe it's intentional, but I don't Was Cam Newton not working intentional? Was not hiring an offensive coordinator and that going horribly? Was that an intentional move to fail? Like, he's tried stuff and it hasn't worked. So now it just feels like he's doing another thing and trying another thing that also isn't working in New England. Also, legitimately, the offense in New England has no playmakers. I don't get it. That they don't. It's baffling to me the way Bill Belichick has built this offense in New England, and it's frustrating. Justin writes in, says, "Hey, Zach and his eyeballs. I wanted to ask for your opinion on the situation with the college football playoff leaving Florida State out of the playoffs. While I understand the frustration from Florida State's side, I believe that the committee made the correct decision. Are we forgetting that Alabama just beat the previous number 1 team and their only loss is against the current number 3 team while we watch Florida State's offense struggle against Louisville? Let's face it, Alabama deserved to be in over Florida State. Also, as a football fan, I would love a Texas-Alabama rematch." Agreed. No, I think the committee did the right thing. I don't want to watch Florida State. I think Alabama's a better team that's more capable of winning right now than Florida State. Georgia had a shot and they lost to Alabama, so that you feel no sadness for Alabama. They didn't do everything they could. They could have beat Alabama. They would have been in. So, yeah, I think the games we got, Washington, Texas is going to be a great football game with 2 awesome offenses. Michigan, Alabama, the number 1 team might go down for the second game in a row. Like, Alabama might knock off 2 number 1 teams in a row back to back with Georgia and then Michigan. I think we got the best 4 teams in football outside of Georgia, but Georgia had a shot and they blew it. So I don't feel bad at all. I think the right thing happened. That's my opinion on the college football playoff. I think the 2 games we got, I guess, Washington, Texas, and Michigan, Alabama are great games that I can't wait to watch. I would not be as excited if Florida State got in. No offense, they did everything they could. It's unfair. Life is unfair. A lot of unfair things have happened to me in my life. No one feels bad for me. I don't feel bad for Florida State. It's their quarterback got hurt, and they weren't the same team after that. That sucks. I understand that, but I want to watch good football games. I don't want to watch backup quarterbacks play. So that's my opinion. Let's end the show by talking about fantasy football. Your boy Zach, guess what? I won a game this week. My team, I changed my team name to Best Fan, which I don't know what that means, but I just put a picture of the Vornado because it's the best fan you can buy. I beat the quarterback graveyard, Sam Colburn's team. I beat a quarterback hospital, excuse me. I beat what I think is probably the best team in our league this week. I won 99.26 to 90.96. My quarterback, Brock Purdy, had a huge game, 19 for 27 passing, 314 yards, 4 touchdowns on the day. Brock Purdy brought in 29.46 points. You love it. I outscored my opponent's quarterback, who was Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford brought in 22.96 points, had 3 touchdowns, 279 yards. So my quarterback won. My running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, did basically nothing. He had 8 carries for 60 yards and a catch for -6 yards. So he had 6.4 points on the day. DeAndre Swift, the running back for Philly, had 4 points on the day, 6 carries for 13 yards. So I technically won that matchup. My number 2 running back, Kareem Hunt, had 12 carries for 48 yards and a catch. Got 5.8 points, did nothing there. Jerome Ford, the other running back in Cleveland, had a much better day. Had 9 carries for 19 yards, plus 3 catches for 33 yards and a touchdown. Jerome Ford brought in 14.6 points for my opponent. But the really big reason I won this week, Nico Collins, my number 1 receiver, had 9 catches for 191 yards and a touchdown, brought in 34.1 points. Chris Olave, his number 1 receiver, brought in 16.9 points. I also had Calvin Ridley at receiver. I didn't need Calvin Ridley going into Monday night. I actually had a lead going into Monday night, but on Monday Night Football, Calvin Ridley had 3 carries for 7 yards and 4 catches for 26 yards, brought in 7.3 points. That's great for me. Jamison Williams, my opponent's number 2 receiver, had 10 points flat, 9 carries for 19 yards, a touchdown, and a catch for 11 yards. My defense was awful. The Cleveland Browns allowed 34 points to the LA Rams, which really sucks, and I had -1 points on defense. He had the Titans defense, who allowed 31 points, but had 3 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. All in all, my tight end, Hunter Henry, had 2 catches for 15 yards. He had Jonnu Smith, who had 3 points. So my tight end technically had 3.5 points. I won the tight end matchup. I won the flex matchup as well. Zach Moss, my flex player, had 7.7 points. His flex player, Ramondre Stevenson, had 2.9 points, lost a fumble, got hurt. My kicker, Jake Moody, had 6 points. His kicker, Matt Amendola. Is Amendola? I think it's Amendola. Let me click on this. Matt Amendola. Okay. Amendola is somebody in the NFL. He had 10 points. So here's the point. I won this week by 9 points. Very happy with that. Jordan Addison had a bye week. Dalton Kincaid had a bye week. And Khalil Herbert had a bye week. So I really had no one to go fall back on. I started the wrong kicker. My kicker could have had Harrison Butker. My backup kicker had 7 points. My starting kicker, Jake Moody, had 6 points. But I basically maximized what my team could do this week. And now, in our league, my team is currently the number 9 team. I got to be top 8 to make a playoff game. So that means coming into next week, I have to win. And if I win, I got a very good shot at making a playoff game. Final week, I play Jackson's Prison TikTok. I got a 57% chance of winning, but currently his matchup has, it's not been updated yet. It's like he's got a running back, Antonio Gibson starting, who's got a bye week and isn't going to play. That's going to change. So we'll see. Let me just adjust my team real quick, though. Let me add Dalton Kincaid as my starting tight end. That's going to help me have a better chance of winning. Let's add Jordan Addison back into the starting lineup. That's going to help me win. We'll bench Kareem Hunt. We'll bring in Zach Moss. I would imagine now I've got a really good shot of winning on Sunday. Would I rather have the 49ers kicker kicking against Seattle and San Francisco or the Chiefs kicker kicking in Buffalo? I guess we're going with Jake Moody in San Francisco just because I can't imagine kicking in Buffalo is a good idea. So there's a good likelihood I win. Now the percentage is for next week, with the changes I just made to my roster, I've now got a 62% chance of winning. He still has a backup, a guy who's not going to play with a bye week in his starting lineup. So he'll update it, but good chance I win and make my first ever fantasy football playoff game, which would be wild and very, very cool. Things are going well, man. I really am excited. Not a lot of close games in the league this week, actually. Everything's been screwed. I feel bad. This guy, Andy, had 138 points and lost, and he would have beat basically almost every other team. Oh my gosh, we got to talk about Jacob, though. So Florida Man beat Jacob. Florida Man had 146.2 points. Jacob had 145 points. Imagine scoring 145 fantasy points and losing a game. That's really bad luck. And now, as a result, I think Jacob's probably... Is he eliminated from the playoffs? Jacob is... Oh, man. Poor Jacob. Jacob, I love you. He's ranked right behind me. He's 6-7. So Jacob probably scored 145 points and lost, and because of that is going to miss a playoff game, which is really, really bad luck. Guys, I love you. That's all I have this week. Song of the week this week. Let me pull it up. I try to give song recommendations when I can. The song of the week this week is Break My Bones by Matt Hansen. Made me cry, made me sad. I just acknowledge I'm going through like a tough breakup. It was a while ago now, but it's still hurting. So this song hits. It made me sad. It made me cry. It made me feel a lot of stuff, and it was good for me this week. So love you. I appreciate you. Hope you have a great day. I will see you next Tuesday. And please, if you're on Patreon, write in with I'd love to hear your unhinged questions. I would really enjoy hearing out of left field fun stuff. Challenge me. Challenge my beliefs. Make me think stuff. I want you to ask fun questions. I want to open the show next week with a fun question that makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me feel lots of stuff. I think the best question we ever got was the one about mixing two animals, and it's the way it was written, too. The spider bear milk. What the F was that? That came out of nowhere. That was hilarious. Can we duplicate that? Maybe never again. Maybe we can never get a question that good again. But that was peak strong opinion sports, in my opinion. Can we top it? I dare you to try. I love you guys. I appreciate you. I will see you next week. Thank you to Rocket Money. Thank you to Prize Picks. And I guess if you got nothing going on Thursday, you can watch the Patriots Steelers, but I can't imagine that's going to be a good football game. I'm so disappointed that's a primetime game on Thursday night. It's going to be awful. So anyway, I love you. Appreciate you. Hope you have a great day. And bam, we are